Okay, checking my blind spot. Successfully back up without hitting anybody. Imagine that. Hello, Internet, and welcome to my 30 in 30, which is 30 life lessons I have learned in the span of 30 years that I firmly believe have made my life better and made me a better person. Whoa! I don't know. This camera angle is a little weird. It's kind of like riding in cars with Kiris. Ooh. No, maybe not. So here's the thing. Your fave is problematic. We all know this. But we also know that you're problematic, and I'm problematic. We are all problematic. Why? Because we are human and mortal and prone to error, and every single person, regardless how woke you think you are, has a blind spot somewhere. We live in a very flawed society, and while yes, we have improved in some ways, there's still others where we could really, really use a lot of extra work to get where we would more ideally like to be. But because we live in a flawed society, we are sort of taught things without even realizing we're being taught them about race and gender and sexuality and religion and even dieting and food. Like, there's so much that we learn from the society around us which may not necessarily be accurate. Or if it is accurate, it's not the whole story. So essentially what happens is, because of the lives we live, our experiences, our background, who we choose to socialize with, etc., no matter what, you start to get a kind of, just call them blinders. Not quite tunnel vision, but essentially you are crafting a path for yourself where you know where you want to go. You're like, and then so everything else doesn't necessarily get fully blocked out like a horse's blinders, but let's just go with this analogy for a bit. So you get kind of blinders on, where this is my experience, and this becomes my world, and sometimes we can get in the mindset of, my experience is the only experience. And here's the thing. Life is not a one-player game. It is not solo. It's an MMO. Life is an MMO. And because life is an MMO, you've got every single person with their own experiences in their own world and how they experience everything around them, which is still true. Their truth and your truth may not match up, but that doesn't mean necessarily that one of them is wrong. For instance, you read so many stories of guys who made fake female profiles online to see, like, well, this really can't be that bad, the harassment, etc., and then they're like, oh my gosh, I was so wrong, my eyes were so opened, which on one level is extremely frustrating, because maybe we should just try to start believing people when they tell us something that they're really struggling with, or at least, not dismissing it immediately. However, them doing that experiment was at least some version of stopping and checking and adjusting their blinders and going, oh, well, okay. So this was not something that I could have fathomed, but this is an actual issue that this particular group of people faces. On a much smaller scale, for instance, look at, I know I'm going to throw people off here because I'm going to make a sports reference, but think about athletes who lose a game and then you see them get extremely upset. Your brain is like, why are they so, like, it's just a game, it's just a game. Where it's just supposed to be fun and whatnot, but if you take a moment and put yourself in their shoes, you go, well, no, wait, hang on. First of all, this is their career. Second of all, the amount of hours and training that went into this moment to only have it not work out. I mean, yes, I also believe, obviously, as we've already discussed, that failure is a great thing to learn from. But when you kind of put all the pressures and frustrations into that, you can kind of understand why someone would get that upset. I mean, not kind of. You can understand why someone would get that upset. I apologize. I have this problem when I talk sometimes, and to delay, my brain is not quite functioning, or I can't quite remember how to word something. I will put in filler words, I guess is the best way to put that, and kind of, and such the like, and those sorts of words. And I try to avoid saying because I hate it, even though I know I do it often. Also, I use the word like too much when I am not using a simile. There's the I feel like I've done that more since I moved to California. Or maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, that was not the point. So my lesson for you today is to practice empathy liberally. Not sympathy, empathy. Try to put yourself in that person's shoes. Try to understand where they're coming from and what that experience is. So that, because you may realize that, oh, you know, this is something I've never considered because my personal experience never exposed me to this. This is not something that affects me as a person. I now need to adjust my blinders so that I can see the picture of the world around me a bit more clearly. Here's the thing, guys. No matter who you are, you have a blinder of some sort. It's how intersectionality works. It's the fact that our experiences both help and hinder us, in that if we accept that our experience is the end-all be-all, or, well, I've never personally experienced it, therefore it doesn't exist, that can hurt us so much in our growth and how we relate to people around us. For example, I have never personally experienced Antarctica, yet I know it exists! And I believe people who have been there that it exists. I believe scientists when they talk about their studies and findings there. It exists! Thank you so much for joining me in this car ride. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and of course share with your friends and neighbors, all that jazz. Love you so much, and I'll see you later. Bye!